listening to the Audionowcast, sponsored by API. Now from the Nowcast Network studios, here's Mike.
Hey, welcome to the Audionowcast one-on-one. That's right, this is not a normal Audionowcast. Today we are going to be doing a one-on-one interview with Mr. Martin Page.
I noticed that you said it can't be an ordinary show because I'm on it. I like that.
Well, you know what? We're doing something a little different. We're going to spend some time with Martin. He just came out with an album called A Temper of Peace, and it was produced and engineered and played all the instruments and made all the tea.
I did make lots and lots of cups of tea. Probably thousands, to tell you the truth.
So I decided, hey, let's just do a little podcast where it's just one-on-one with Martin, and we can talk about the album and not bore all the other guys.
That's right. It's nice just to be on my own here with you.
It's going to be a little informal. It's going to be a little loose, but I think it'll be really fun, and we'll have a good time. We're going to play some tracks from the album, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about each song, and let's just kind of see where it goes.
Brilliant.
You know what? Let's just start at the beginning. I had the honor of meeting Martin back in 1996.
Wow, was that? Wow.
Yeah, and I remember the first day that I came over, and I actually was, it was a referral for a gig.
That's right.
To help you. This is when you were first starting your In the House of Stone and Light tour, and you were going to be doing some shows down in San Diego. And I showed up, and I checked out the situation and decided that I couldn't make it.
That was destiny, wasn't it? Destiny.
And actually, on my first time I worked with Martin, I got a sub.
Did you really?
Yes, because remember,
God.
Jesse did the San Diego show.
That's right. Boy, you're bringing back memories now, because that San Diego show was the first ever live performance of me and my new band, and that was actually a performance for the record company.
Yep.
And so really, you dipped out of the gig straight away, didn't you?
That's right. It was the equivalent of getting a new job and calling in sick.
Well, actually, I'm being flashed here from the crowd behind me here by my manager. It was 1995 on a piece of paper here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
That was a while ago.
A while.
I wanted to do the gig, but unfortunately I was working. At that time, I believe, I was on the road with Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't do the first gig.
I was a bit disappointed that you chose Stevie over me.
I couldn't do the first gig, but was able to do all the gigs after that, and that actually turned out really cool. Let's talk about, what we're here to talk about, which is your new album. Let's pick up right after you finished releasing your last album.
I was very motivated, actually, after the release of A Temple of the Muse. The response was much better than I ever thought, and it really sort of encouraged me to sit down pretty soon after and start thinking about another record. And I'd been a long time, but after House of Stone and Light and In the Temple of the Muse, there was a long time before I'd got back into recording a solo record. In that time, I formed my own little independent record label, Iron and Board, with my manager, Diane Poncher, and I put A Temple of the Muse out really with a lot of help and motivation from people like yourself that said, it's the time of the internet, it's the time of new technology, so this can be done quite easy, and you can do it yourself. I had been with Mercury Records before. Mercury Records had changed and gone into a different direction, and so this was a brand new era, through the digital revolution. Anyway, to make a long story short, the response of the fans to A Temple of the Muse and the success that that came about made me, it motivated me to get going again. And so I started, pretty soon after that record was released, I started writing songs for it. And I had a desire to make this new record, A Temper of Peace, a different way. And that was what you mentioned earlier. I wanted to play all the instruments myself. Martin,
I know you write a ton of songs, and after In the Temple of the Muse came out, you continued to write. When did you know when it was time to stop?
That's a good question, Mike. I love writing songs. I mean, that's my big love, is writing songs,
right.
more than anything else. And so it's very difficult for me not to be doing that. And again, as I said, with the motivation and the feedback from the fans for the album before this one, I went straight into it. I love being in the studio. I love experimenting. My favourite place is in the studio more than anything else. And in a very short time, and I have had a very prolific, really, the last 3 years, writing-wise, has been ridiculously prolific for me.
Right.
I started to realise quite soon that the songs I was writing could be another album. And I was trying to do an album which was a little different from the last one. I see in the Temple of the Muse my kind of blue record. It was after some grief, and it's a very emotional record, and quite a quiet record. This record is not like that. It's another movement into a different direction. I knew pretty soon that I was doing another record. It was pretty evident quite quickly. The problem was, choosing the songs I was going to use, because I had a period of writing a lot of folk music, a lot of reggae music, and actually a lot of acoustic music. So that was probably the difficult decision, was what kind of style is this? And then I just gave in to saying it is what it is. Right. Whatever you write, it is.
How did you decide on these 14 particular songs for your album?
They were the best bloody songs. They were the ones that sounded the best, really. I mean, I spent such a long time on them and listening to them. Over a period of time, they became ingrained in me, and I said, "That's crap. That's good. That's all right. That's not bad." They speak to you over time, Mike. But really, I have to say, it's the songs that felt the best. I mean, that's the answer to that, and I'm one of those people that plays my material as I'm writing it all the time in the car, all the time in the bathroom while I'm shaving. I'm playing it all around the house, and you start to learn about the songs over a period of time. Right. Some songs instantly tell you that they're the front song to the album, the last song on the album, maybe a song that should be in the middle of the album. It seems to come together in that magical place where they tell you that they should be there, where they should be, and I can't understand why that happens, but it does, and that's the magic of it.
Well, let's just start talking about some of the songs right off the bat, and this is the intro to the album. It definitely sets the tone. What's your thought process? What were you thinking of? What are you trying to do here when you come in with these just wonderfully warm pads and these warm strings?
Well, this is a song called Halo, and it was recorded on all analog keyboards, and it was nice to use this as the intro to the album because I felt like it had a kind of ethereal, grand presence to it. It was a little bit spiritual. I love analog keyboards. I love the emotion they give, and I love pads, and I love chords. This song, Halo, had been with me for a long time, and as the album started to appear, I felt like it would be an unusual way to start the record, and it moves into a song called Washing of the Heart, which is totally different to this. I loved albums in the past by Elton John, like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, that started off with A Funeral for a Friend and had the same kind of orchestration. So this motivated me to start the record this way.
Now, do you remember a couple of the keyboards that you were using on that?
I certainly do. I used a Jupiter 8, that renowned, iconic old synthesizer that I started with in the 80s with my band Q-Phil. I used a DX7 too on a lot of the low sounds. There's particularly great bass sounds on that old DX7 too. And I printed these keyboards onto a Studer 24-track analog tape machine going through AMS reverbs, and I always printed the reverbs with the keyboards. And on the Lexicon PCM 70, I'm sure you technicians out here are getting off on this and everybody else is bored silly, but there's a great program in there called Concert Wave,
right,
and that has a sort of a shimmering,
right,
you know about that, Mike.
Yep.
And I print and a lot of English people from the 80s printed their effects, and I did that on this track.
The second song on the album is The Washing of the Heart, and right off the bat, what you'll notice with this song that's a little unique for a Martin Page song.
Not really. I did a lot of this in the 80s.
I know. But it's upbeat.
It certainly is, lo and behold. It's grooving. It's funkin' and it's grooving.
All right, now you got to tell me right off the bat, those on the pre-chorus, the background vocals, totally inspired by Jack Hughes, isn't it?
What do I say? What do I say? I'm a great fan of Jack Hughes' work with Wang Chung.
Yeah.
I don't, it's interesting that you hear that. But I had recently, I had been to a concert and watched, Wang Chung come back to LA and play some of their stuff, and maybe that inspired me to have that kind of attitude. I think I'm quite proud if you say it has the kind of Jack Hughes approach.
It just kind of reminded me of how Jack would do, because they're very upfront, aggressive, and the background singer is just really singing loud,
Yeah. This was a song of kind of crazy chaos. It came about from having a lot of fun and finding a groove that I loved. I grew up loving all those Parliament records, all those really great R&B funk records like Funkadelic and Bootsy Collins, and this record, as I pointed out to you, Mike, it was a different record from the one before, and I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. The problem with this song was that when I wrote it, it was spontaneous, and the demo was really good, and I had windows open in the studio, I had cats screaming and noises of people going down the road, and I had to emulate that, because every time I listen to that, it's one of these things you find in songwriting when you go, no, well, now let's do the master, and yet the demo had so much energy in it, and a lot of these vocals that you pointed out, where they're so up front and the lead vocal was panned from left to right, was done because of a mistakes. I was basically making a very fast demo, and the arrangement was speaking to me from nowhere. Yet when I listened back, it was like there's a lot of great stuff going on here. There's something magical happening in the rough you've done, and so I had to, in a way, follow that trend again. And I joined this song, as you pointed out, to the beginning of Halo. It comes out of Halo.
Right.
Luckily, they were in keys that
work.
that worked. But that was a great song to do. It was actually two things: hell to record, because I had to follow the demo, which was spontaneous, and I'd learnt over the years, don't clean this up too much. Right. And also it was bliss to be so loose and fun, and I've been reading a book about the Egyptians when they would weigh the hearts of the people of their people that had died, and they'd weigh if the heart would lead them into the dark world or lead them into the good world of heaven. Right. And I wrote really the washing of the heart in that kind of way, and of weighing the heart, and that there's always a chance to start again and look for a new positive start. So really, to me, it was like, cleansing the soul. It was, in a way, a bit of a brother to In the House of Stone and Light, but much more crazy.
Well, yes, and I'm going to play this one part because I just think it's awesome. Come on, I heard that.
Yeah. You spotted something there.
The little homage to Q-Feel.
It was. I did what we did on Q-Feel, which was our first real big break for me. And I thought it just appeared to me when I was jamming to put in the quick, slow, so quick, and just to get into that vibe again. And it was a nice tip of the hat to what started me off. I'm amazed that you spotted that, Mike. You would, being the spy you are.
Well, no, anybody who knows your songs.
Suddenly, out of this voodoo groove, out of this very strange kind of groove, comes this Englishman again, who's still talking about ballroom dancing.
So then we move on to Think of Me When You Dance. And tell us a little bit about this song.
It was a lovely song to write. Again, it was very natural to write. To me, I love sitting down with I've got a beautiful nylon guitar, a P Project, quite an unusual instrument, and I was jamming around on that. And it was a nice mixture of this guitar and pads. I love playing blue chords and this song is very romantic. I'm unashamedly a romantic, so a lot of this record, hints at that again. And I every now and then like to pull on the Latin feel.
Right.
I'm attracted to it. This song really, to me, lyrically as well, is just about saying, if I'm not with you at this time, I may be away from you, I may be at war, or I may not be even in this world. But
right.
But there was a song that meant a lot to us. And stay strong if I'm not with you. I mean, you can and when you hear our particular song,
right,
think of me and dance.
In a song, my love. When the music sets you free, think of me when you dance.
This vocal that you do is very passionate in a loving way.
Yeah, it's really, it's a vocal that's really looking from a distance. That's how I see it. It's somebody talking to somebody they love, but they're not there. So no, it's a vocal I tried to perform from looking from a distance. That's a strange thing to say, but that's how I saw the vocal. An overview from away, a message of the heart, without getting over the top about it.
There's a gentleness about it. You're longing for this person to think of them.
Yeah, it's and it's interesting because it's after coming out of Halo and Washing the Heart, which is crazy. It's quite a nice an unusual place to. I put it as an early song on the album. So the texture's quite abrupt, but it seems to work at that point.
The next song is probably one of my favorites on the whole album. And I think it's one of my favorites because, A, it's a beautiful song, but, Martin, it's a gutsy song.
Well, it's got a lot of different styles involved with it. There's a real kind of fragile feel about it, as well as it having a deepness and a depth to it. And it's an unusual song. I mean, even I have to say that it comes from a different place where I usually come from. With the verse being sung in falsetto,
right,
and at such a height, and the chorus being different to that. And it is a very special song for me as well on the record. I see it as one of the most emotional vocals I've ever done, actually. I think it was meant to be. And it's a song that I feel is very unusual in structure, so I'm very proud of this song.
In the silence of the rain, I feel your soul. Even though your light has gone, I feel your soul.
What makes this song one of my favorites is it really shows the genius of your songwriting, and not just from a lyrical content, but also from the way you structured the song, because the falsetto at the beginning on the verses sets up your chorus so beautifully. I mean, it just really lays an amazing bed for the chorus just to come on in and just to kind of land.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it does have that feel to me, even now. You write a song, and if you can still listen to that song over a period of time and still get the same feeling yourself as when you were constructing it, then I think I've achieved something that is quite what I actually set out for. Soulprint is unusual, and it came to me in a kind of unusual way, and particularly the lyrics, which are looking at, being touched by somebody who's been close to you and have left their mark on you, whether it's a person or an animal. In my case, it was animals, and the message, in a way, dictated the way the music should be written. You
know what, Martin? I got to play a little bit more of this song, because one thing I have to talk about is the bass, and how the bass just moves on this song and has a very strong reggae feel that just pushes the song along perfectly. Let's listen to it on this chorus coming up.
And I will walk in your deep song. Shadow fall across the sun. I feel your soul print on me.
What's so cool is the influence of reggae coming across in this song. You have this bass that is just classic reggae bass on top of the vocals that aren't, and it just works so well.
This is a song to me that was a little bit inspired by me listening to Arvo Pärt, the classical composer who I love, and his ethereal approach to silence. And that's the way the song starts off. As you say, Mike, I grew up loving reggae. I grew up in the era of the 70s of the Trojan records and Prince Buster, Toots and the Maytals. And one of my favourite albums is Catch a Fire by Bob Marley, and some extraordinary bass playing on that record. And so it was great fun to take something to me which was like a choir song and quite spiritual and quite classical in its approach, and to attack it with a kind of reggae violence with the bass playing. It was really good fun because Jamaican bass playing is totally original in the way that they cut across the beat. And on this song, it was nice to construct some lines in C minor that felt a bit to me like Stir It Up, you know, and in a way, that Catch a Fire album. I have no problem in admitting that that Catch a Fire record was what I was thinking about when I was creating the bass lines on the chorus, not in the verses. In the verses, it's really, you know, it's all over the place, and there's like 5 basses on this. And it's nice on this record where I was able to sit down and say, now I'm the bass player. You know, that was the thing about recording a record and playing all the instruments. I'd have to put these hats on and go, what would the bass player play now? Because as a songwriter, you sometimes get to the point when you go, I've sung it, the lyrics are written and the song's coming across, and I had to basically disengage myself from that and say, well, now we have to construct a good bass line and be a different person. And it was fun to do on this track.
You know, we need to talk about this right now, because especially with this track and the track that's coming up, we got to tell everybody that this album was so close to not even being here. And that was one of the songs that was like, I mean, I
think that there was something meant to be for Soulprint, because I was overdubbing on it when, as you know, Mike, the hard drives died, exploded, and it was terrifying. Well,
and I have to just inject right here that I heard the old version of Soulprint, which was different than this version of Soulprint. There was a lot more percussion. It was filled out a little bit. It was a little more dense.
Yes.
And then we had the incident.
The incident that nearly destroyed me totally, and thank God you were around to do the retrieving. This forced me, and I think in a very special way, on a couple of the songs on the record, it made me to search back to earlier mixes. And I found, I think it was meant to be, you know, that there was this mix which you hear now, which knocked me out, and I had in the car. And not only was I forced to use it, I actually realized that some of its intimacy and some of its openness was absolutely necessary, because on this record I did get to a couple of points on songs on the record where I was going too far. There's another song on this record called I Can't Get There Without You, where I took it over the line, and then I had to pull back. And Soulprint, by actually dying in front of my eyes and you helping me retrieve it, we found an earlier mix that spoke to me much louder when I stepped back. So that's what's on this record. It's something that, and I was forced to create a different ending to it, which I didn't see before. So sometimes out of adversity, some real special things appear.
I need to explain to people what the incident was.
I don't want to hear about it, because it destroyed me last time. I'm going to take my headphones off while you talk about it.
No, I got a phone call from Martin, and
Mike, save me!
It was basically, Mike, can you come over, because I have partition 1, partition 2, and partition 4. Where is partition 3?
I'm suicidal.
And the way Pro Tools works is it spreads his data amongst all the partitions, which were actually different hard drives. And what ended up happening was Martin actually lost a whole hard drive with a ton of bits and pieces of your album. That was pretty devastating.
Let me jump in here.
Sure.
Mike came across to my house and I sort of pointed at the screens and went, "It's gone."
Oh.
And I actually said to Mike, he said, "Well, look, we're going to save some stuff. I'm sure we can get it back." He had the positive attitude and I've got the pessimistic, it's meant to be that it all goes. I've worked so long. And then I said, "There's just one song that I just can't afford to lose because I did a vocal on it that I just feel is so passionate and is what it's about." And I said to Mike, "It's a song called Soul Print." And, and he looked, I remember him looking on the hard drive and going, it looks like we've got Soul Print, but without the vocal. I thought, oh my God, what have I done wrong in my life?
And you know what? I have to say, I have never seen you at such a low moment in your
I
in
remember
your life,
I remember actually standing in the back of the room while you were figuring it out, and I know that I had an aura around me of where's the nearest bridge? And as I asked you questions about certain songs, Mike, you make sure that's got the lead vocal on it, and you'd turn around and go, "Yes, this one's got it," and I go, "Yes." Then I say, "But Soul Print," and you go, "I don't think we've got bits of it, but not everything." Like that was when I was looking for the highest bridge.
Yeah, because what ended up happening is we took it to a data recovery center, and we took the drive over there, and they gave us back a ton of data. And it was just straight data, and I had to go in there and rebuild a lot of the songs, point back to all
and
the
you would
different
report
ones.
to me daily and say, on Ruby Ray and on this song, you've got this guitar, not that bit. And but really, we were very lucky, and you did an excellent job on retrieving really the belly of the record.
Well, I just relinked files. The place did an amazing job, and you had to pay for it.
Mike, I would have sold my house to get back a lot of this. Yeah, that's how it was.
Well, it was so crazy because literally almost every song had a little bit or piece that was not there because of the way we recorded it, in a round robin. So every time you opened a song, it threw a little bit of data in there.
In the songs that I did have to, go back and look at earlier mixes, and really there were Ruby Ray, one of the songs, Soul Print, and I believe. There was a song, I Can't Get There Without You. It forced me to look at the song slightly different, and I think it was a godsend because I was at that point when you've worked on a project on your own for such a long time where you start to do too much. You start to record too much, and so this forced me back to say, halfway through some of these songs, you had it right, and you've gone past the line.
You know what? This reminds me. This is why you finished the album. I remember that. Yeah. Now it's all coming back because I remember you coming back, and after we relinked and found as much as we can, you just I just got to finish this now.
Yeah.
And you stopped on all the other stuff, and it was like full court press.
It's very hard when you're involved so much on a record like this.
Right.
It was tough in the sense that I was doing everything, and you don't really know when you're going to finish. And so somebody had put the flag up and said, if you carry on any longer, you're going to be in trouble. And it made me see the project differently and wrap it up at the right time. Really,
it was definitely a dark time, but when we put it together and when you started to see that it could work, it was amazing.
I gained a lot. I gained a lot from that moment, really, on seeing the album as a whole. Otherwise, I would probably still be recording it now. That's the truth. You go on and on and on, and particularly if you're on your own doing it, you don't know really when you're finished.
And I will like to tell everybody that Martin now is backed up like a gazillion different ways. Seriously, I mean,
I'm actually saving it now as we talk.
We have data sets. He's triple backed up at his place. His manager has a set of data. I have a set of data.
My cats have a set. Next door neighbor has a set.
You are backed up.
I am backed up. Which is a nice feeling, I can tell you that. So tell all your songwriters, back up.
That's right.
Up.
Well, let's move on to the next song.
It's summertime again. There's laughter in your eye. You're running through the fair. Oh, I can see.
This is really a lovely song. This is Ruby Ray, and tell us a little bit about this song.
This is it has its tendencies in folk, although it's played a great deal on synthesizers. It has a traditional feel to it. Ruby Ray is a fictional character that just came out of the air. She's running through the fair. She's a lively girl with red hair, and she's very sparky. It's a love song, and it's got an attitude about it of freedom. And it was another unusual song to record, because it was based on acoustic guitar, but eventually turned up with a lot of keyboards on it. And I kept the old folk Celtic Gaelic influences on it, and I even used some very old English Gaelic phrases, which were very nice to use. So I went into a little bit of history with this song.
Yeah, and the end is phenomenal, and when the little chanting comes in,
that's the Gaelic chant, which I was reading a transcription of Beowulf, one of the first ever Anglo-Saxon books, and it was translated by Seamus Heaney, one of Ireland's greatest poets, and I came across this beautiful phrase which became one of the backing vocals.
Right.
And this was an interesting song that I fought a long time to put drums on it and to get the groove in a certain way, and it fought me and said, there are no drums on this song. There is percussion. There is live percussion that you should play.
Right.
But it told me, you don't need to overdo this song. The drums have to be quite, shall we say, gentle, and make the lyric speak louder than anything else.
So once you started, the song kind of just spoke to you and just kept you moving. And
I have
focused.
to say, Mike, when I've written for other people all through my life, your production ideas dictate to you a little bit, and you go into a kind of routine. On this album, when I was writing from a personal point of view, and it's been this way always when I write for myself, and I'm not one to have put many albums out, the songs that I do for myself basically tell me how I should produce them. And not when I'm writing for other people, because you sort of let your skin go and you say, they work this way. But with me, I like to write stories, and I feel my albums are a bit like books, and they speak to me as I produce them. You know, I go as I go.
Right.
Vocals and lyrics are the primary, and melody, the main thing. But the production on this whole album came about incrementally as the songs developed. I didn't know how I was going to produce them daily. I did bits as I went along.
The next song is I'll Grow Old With You. This is like a poem that just happens to have music behind it.
It's a nice way of looking at it, Mike. It's a very short song. It is a poem. It's a love song. It's as simple as that. It's just a pure, simple, very short love song, and about the realization that we sometimes have, like, well, this is it. I have met the person, you know, and it's really, in a way, a brother or a sister to the song Blessed from my other album. I see it in that way.
Really?
Yeah. And it was, again, playing acoustic guitar, you know, which is very rare for me to just make that the focal point.
Yeah.
So it became a small folk song.
And the reason why I say it's like a poem is just the structure of the song. You have a start and you have an end. It just goes from point A to point B.
Well, I think what you're reacting to there is something that I had gone through that period, and I was studying, which was traditional folk music. That sometimes these songs are like stories, and you go along with really the story. You go along with what you're saying. You're not necessarily looking for the bridge, the chorus, the middle eight. You pick up the guitar and you tell a traditional story that is rooted in community. That's where folk comes from. All folk songs are community. I see reggae songs the same way. They are folk songs. And this song was, it really came about because I was enjoying playing acoustic guitars. I got into it. I got into acoustic guitar, something that's not really seen a great deal on my solo work. And I found folk influences very powerfully through this record. That's where this song came from.
We're moving on to a song that's been around for a little while.
Yep, there are a couple of songs on this record that I reinvented that I've always wanted to. When the Harvest Is In was actually a song that we would finish the concert with, and I would throw myself into the crowd with my bass and walk around for a couple of hours.
Yes, you would.
And it was nice to bring life back to this song and to finish it the way I wanted to finish it. It's nice to get it out.
Yeah, this one's another one where your bass playing on just sets a really good groove. You know?
Yeah, it's reggae again. I am a reggae lover. Deep down in my soul, I think reggae, because I was brought up in London, listening to this very, very time in history, the 70s in England, when reggae was happening, really influenced me, particularly from the groove element. I am a bass player, and I do come from really a rhythmic point of view, and House of Stone and Light has an underbelly of reggae. Right. And that was the tour mic. So When the Harvest Is In was written really around the time of House of Stone and Light, and I'd always kept it in my back pocket. And I wasn't so precious about hiding it. Right. It was a great live song, and so it was a joy to bring it out and to record it again. Yeah,
it was a great live song, and it's just a great way to end the concert. Everybody left on a high note, and
band, I had to try and get back on stage, which was usually too high for me. So the band would walk off, and I'd be in the crowd.
That's so true.
I used to always jump down into the crowd, and then I'd go, "How do I get back up?" That was what staircase did I come down?
This one's going to make them melt. This is definitely a truly sexy song.
So let us walk then, just you and I, where the sun melts.
This was another song which was influenced by the books I was reading at that time. I got into the very dark poetry of Baudelaire and his book Flowers of Evil, and a lot of that, reading that book, made this song appear. I can remember reading that book when I was writing this song, and a lot of the phrases are influenced by Baudelaire's kind of vision on life. But yeah, I wanted it to be a sexy song. I felt like it was a kind of an illicit meeting of two people after the lights have gone down, and I think the sexiness came through. Particularly, it was an interesting song because the background vocals on the chorus came first, and then I wasn't happy with that, and so I created a chorus on it like a year later, and sang, the chorus low, loud, dry, right up front, and had to perform that almost like an actor to get the feel. This is a strange song because it was written and then it was rewritten like a year later. The chorus appeared to me in the car, and I thought there's another way of doing this. So the background vocals were really going to be the chorus, and then the lead vocal that you hear loud on the chorus was created a long time after, and it seemed to work magically again.
You know what worked? The reason why it works so well, I think, is because when you listen to lyrics and you listen to the Hungry Ghosts, the background vocals are the Hungry Ghosts.
Yeah.
The background vocals.
That's interesting because they were the first thing that really appeared. Hungry Ghost, the actual title, is really from a Buddhist phrase that we are all hungry ghosts. We have these desires, and we have these lusts, and we are always chasing them and never getting to getting a result with them or being satisfied. And that's and again, the hungry ghost to me made me feel of an illicit meeting after hours as such, and so there's a lot of connotations in this from what I was reading at that time.
Yeah, I remember a great conversation we had about this song where we were talking about the hungry ghost is that part of a person when you, let's say you're sitting at a coffee shop and you see an attractive person, walk in, and your mind kind of goes to a certain place for a little bit, and then you come right back. But in that moment of fantasy, in that moment of desire or whatever
that's the word,
is.
Mike. It's craving, desire, and that thing that drives us all crazy, that keeps on pushing us possibly into places we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That was why this was a mixture, really, of Baudelaire's poetry sort of hints at that all the time, and the Buddhism, which is very important to me. Hungry Ghost resonates to me, that we are always chasing something that we can't always reach.
The thing about your songs and your songwriting, Martin, and actually good songwriters in general, I find there's 3 things that you need to be a really good songwriter: your head, your hands, and your heart. And what I mean by that is you need knowledge. You need some smarts. You do a lot of reading. You're an avid reader. You read poems. You read all kinds of books. And that comes through in your music. You also need your hands. You need to have the skill to play. You need to have the skill to actually write. And then your heart, you got to have the passion, that thing inside that kind of wraps it all together. And this song is a perfect example of that.
It's great that you feel that. I sort of sense that it's it is me. I sense that. As the years go on, you sense that you have a certain style or a certain, shall we say, fashion, a way of putting on clothes with your songs.
Right.
It's like you put the same shirt on, and I think that I can hear that in this song. I can hear I've been doing it for such a long time that I can hear brothers and sisters to Hungry Ghost.
Right.
But on this album, I've sort of bent myself a little bit in different directions to try and challenge myself in a lot of ways, from the simple things, as you say, with the hands, playing the instruments. I had to play these instruments. I had to arrange them. No big deal, I'm a crazy fan of records all my life.
Right.
All I do is collect, vinyl. And here we are in the middle of Hollywood, beautiful place to do the interview, and I was next door Amoeba, buying all these still vinyl and still some of the CDs I love. So, to me, the head that you meant, the hands, I learnt to play bass at quite a late age, 18 years old, wanting to play like my heroes, Louis Johnson, Stanley Clarke, and Mike Rutherford from Genesis.
Right.
So I fell in love with the bass. Secondary, I fell in love with great songs and records that moved me. I think that's where the heart got into me. I was in love with great songs like Bridge Over Troubled Water, My Sweet Lord. Those songs still motivate me. So that heart is retained. And I've taken on the love of what my mother had with reading books. And as I've got older and more confident in writing my songs, my books have made me braver to write about things that I read about. I was very fortunate to be a pop writer for many artists at an early stage. Making my solo records is a luxury to actually put out the kind of songs that I might have not put out in the early years. I've that's how I see it. But I agree with you. I think that and particularly for me, the emotion. Artists I love of really overall have been artists that have a lot of emotion in their work.
You measure all the great songwriters with those 3 H's, and you'll see they have it all in common. I mean, let's go. John Lennon, smart guy.
Yeah.
Had the talent and had the passion in life and to care about things and to care about people and stuff like that. So.
I mean, I love songs. I mean, it comes right down to that. Simple. I just love the art of songwriting. I mean, I love, I can't get this across any more powerful. Sitting down and starting a new song is still more exciting to me than anything else I do in my life. And then striking, after a few moments, a progression and something that you don't know where it comes from starts to tell you you're on the right train lines, and this is turning into something. That is still what motivates me, and so I feel very, very lucky that I'm still doing something that I got turned on as a kid, You
then go into this little instrumental part on the album. Tell us a little bit about this. I mean, what is this?
This is unusual for me to have a little interlude. When I again grew up. I love those albums by Earth, Wind and Fire and people that joined their songs with little moments away. It takes you into different places. And I'm letting a secret go here, really. This is the middle eight from I Can't Get There Without You. And I was doing a kind of slave mix of this song, and I broke everything away and just played some I heard the middle eight broken away from everything else, and I thought, that's quite lovely. And I decided that it would be nice for this record to have a small emotional interlude.
Right.
And as I mentioned before, I can't get my work to even touch these people's work instrumentally, Thomas Newman, Arvo Part. But that's where I was really, in my own way, coming from. And this little piece, this whole album is dedicated to my manager, Diane Poncher, who's been my manager for over 30 years and my partner through hell and thick water, you know. So it was, my first two albums are dedicated to my parents because they gave me the chance to do what I wanted to do.
Right. And
by working with Diane, she did the same thing. She allowed me to make the records I wanted to make.
Right. And
so I had a very warm kind of pseudonym for her called Titch, because she's rather a small lady. I'm 6'4" and I think she's 3'1". And so, it was nice to just say this piece is called Titch and it's for her, and that's what it is.
She is a fantastic lady too.
Thank you very much, Mike. Don't tell her that. She'll get big-headed and tell me that I've got to make shorter albums and things. We can't give her too much power.
You then move on to this song, What Did I Do to Deserve You?
Yeah. This is, again, falling into my folk tendencies, which I was very enveloped with at this time. Traditional. Lovely to play mandolin. I'd never played mandolin before. I had to buy a book to work out how to tune a mandolin. And my finger... Yeah, I didn't know. I just bought it. I love the way it looked, and I thought, I like the way they sounded. And I thought it was the same tuning as a guitar, but it's not. And it's got more strings. And my fingers are too big for the mandolin. So it was lovely to learn that and to play it on this track and to keep this. And and I enjoyed playing the bass on this as well because it has a stereo bass on it. But it's a traditional folk love song. And again, I did it with live percussion, played totally live, no programming, just felt. And it's it falls to that romantic traditional folk song again, which I'm a sucker for.
This song was on an album that was released. When was it released?
It was a charity album for Abrazos. I think about 3 years ago. It was a cancer charity,
right?
And I got such a favourable response for the song. Another old song that a lot of people have always said to me, you need to record that again. So I re-recorded it, used some of the elements from the initial recording, and then overdubbed a lot of new things,
right?
And brought it up to freshness as such. It was nice to put it on the record.
This song is Healing Waters. Let's just listen to a little bit.
Hope is gone. I'll be there to keep you strong. I will lay your body down in healing waters and turn this darkness into light. Help you stand, I'll help you fight. But don't ever let them break your spirit. And I'm
totally can see how uplifting that song is.
Thanks, Mike.
The chorus just really kind of speaks to you, especially if you're going through anything from cancer to, a sore throat.
Again, it's songs. As you get older, you don't get quite so precious about what you write, and you start to realise, I think, at a later stage that some of the things you've written that you may not have thought you should let anybody hear. Other people start telling you, oh, there's a lot of distance in these songs, and that's what this was one of those kinds of songs. Everybody that heard it said to me, oh, it's so strong. You know, I found it a very simple message. It's very straightforward, but the response I get from people is very much that it does what it's supposed to do. It lifts the spirit, and I don't mind admitting that I think any music that lifts the spirit is worthwhile. You know, love's everything. Helping people to be encouraged is everything. So I wasn't quite so precious about being too wrapped up in saying that's not quite me now. It was like, let's bring some of these things out, touch them up, re-record some things, and let them fly.
This next song, I Can't Get There Without You, it's a really great throwback song. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of, back in the 70s.
Yeah.
A Hall & Oates.
Yeah, that's my territory. And that's exactly what I was paying homage to. Average White Band, Hall & Oates, Gamble and Huff, a lot of the Philadelphia records, Me and Mrs. Jones, those records, the Shy-Lights, Oh Girl, Have You Seen Her? That's where this came from. And I, again, felt like it would be nice to put something like this on the record to break the spell, and my homage to good R&B.
Can't get there without you. I need you by my side to help me make it.
I can see the Four Tops now, doing their little dance routines. Yes, right, you want to... Here we go, it's live recording here. This is Real Flicks.
To keep me strong and true. No, I won't.
This was one of those songs where I overdid it. And then through our breakdown of the hard drives, I went through a very frustrating time with this song. I wasn't really sure it should be on the record. I was really not sure. It was me being a little bit more naked and saying, hey, this is my influences. I did like the great soul of the 70s, Rufus, these great ballads, And the first version of this didn't have any backgrounds on the chorus because I thought, no, the obvious thing to do is harmonies. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep it different. And when we had the breakdown, I came back to the song again, realized that there was too much on it, stripped it back, changed the drums, went back to a very elemental drum programming with the rim shot real high, and I decided to sing harmonies throughout on all the choruses. And the song, it lived again. It lived. And it became to me more honourable when I stripped it back and just went for the natural feeling of, yes, there should be harmonies here, don't get too artistic about it, do it.
Do you know what the intervals are? Because they're not like... It's not like a third.
Absolutely not. No, don't ask me technical questions like that.
Okay,
I can tell you one thing though.
We can take the H away for hands.
No, when I do harmonies, I jam them. I put the microphone up, listen to the lead vocal, and I go seeking for them.
I got you.
And that's the wonderful thing about the technology. We have tapes and we have digital playback, so you can play about for a while. So no, I hear harmonies in my head, but I usually just hear the simple ones, and then I have to work at the ones after. That's usually something that I do along with the track. But I do remember with this that I was looking at some great Motown chord sequences.
Right.
I keep all the songbooks of all the... Here's all the secrets, boys. He's got all the songbooks of everybody, and he nicks. He's a really good thief. And I'm a really good, honourable thief. I think that's the best way you can actually pay homage to people, is to nick everything they've ever done that's good. But no, we know it's Sting. What was it? Roxanne. That's the chord sequence of Bob Marley's songs. We all know. If you're not influenced by great records,
absolutely,
you're lying. So I was going through these. I didn't copy it exactly, but I was just looking at these wonderful Motown songs. And this song, I was playing some of the chords from What Becomes of the Broken Hearted, by Jimmy Ruffin.
Right.
And there was some beautiful F minor 6. Going. I can C to F minor 6, lovely mood. move, and it started me off, and off we went. And the song had, the progressions were a challenge to me and interesting. It's quite a good chord sequence, I feel.
Let's move on to another song that, once again, goes back to your folk little storytelling. I can't even pronounce the title of this song.
This is called Sweet Killenny Hill.
Killenny, is that how you
Killenny
pronounce it?
Hill, yeah. And there actually is a place called Killenny Hill in Ireland. And this is a ghost story. I love ghost stories. Lots of folk songs talk about ghosts and spirits and vampires and all sorts of things. And this is basically a traditional ghost song. I had this song for quite a while. Again, brought it up from the vaults, had some fun with it, and thought that it was right for this record. Interesting again, from a soul song going into a traditional folk song.
Right.
That was good fun for me. It was like you have to go with different influences and different styles. But this is... This has a bit of Wuthering Heights about it. It's definitely rainy, and it's definitely a song of which you need to have in folk songs: deep love, war, death, suicide, and ghosts on hills, and thunderstorms, and then you have it.
And then you got it.
You got it.
What's the story of the song?
It's about I think her name is Rosaline McBride, right? Yes. Somebody's nodding to me from the back. Yeah, it's I wrote a story. Her boyfriend was Davy, and he went off to fight in the wars, and he died in a foreign tomb. He was killed at battle, probably in the battles in the early days. It could have been, the Civil War of England's Civil War. He was sent away to fight. He didn't come back, and so she lamented him, always waiting for her true love to come back. When she realized, and she was told, that he'd been killed, she jumped off the hill. And she decided to be with him. And so the people of the village, the people of near Sweet Killenny Hill, they still see her, and she's still on the hill.
Wow.
Waiting for him to come back over the sea.
So there's a real place where you can...
I just looked at a map and went, that sounds good. So, that's in Ireland, and I like folk. And Killenny is a great word to sing. I do love a good ghost story. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. It's somebody lamenting somebody who's gone off. And, of course, there's loads of death in it, and that just makes for a good song.
And, it could be haunted, so there you go.
Oh, yeah. I believe it's haunted. I haven't seen her, but I believe it's haunted.
1, 2.
This brings us to the last song of the album.
3, 4.
Yeah.
Which... I think for a lot of people it'll be their favorite song. I mean, the whole album is full of great songs, but I think there's gonna be a lot of people who can relate to this song. And
thank you, Mike.
This song is "You Can Let Go Now."
Yeah, this, as you can hear again, it's a folk-oriented song, very very simplistic. Again, a live performance from beginning to end, and quite quickly put down. Lyrically, to me, this is like Soul Print, incredibly personal and very special to me. It's a story about really when my father passed away. He was holding on for me, and I could tell he was, as it happens in many situations, that your loved ones, even when they're very ill, will just fight on in terrible pain. And this was my reaction, and only in a song straight after that had happened, that I wrote it as "You Can Let Go," and I don't want you to suffer anymore. And that's what this song's about.
When I heard this song the first time, I remember when you played it for me, I knew you were going to be okay, because I knew how traumatic it was for the passing of your parents. But when I heard you play the song. For me, it was, you're going to be okay. You've dealt with it, and you can let go.
No, I feel that too, Mike. There's a lot of, I'd have to say possibly this is, my favourite track on the record, because it says exactly what I wanted to say. And it really is a song, as you say, to myself. And You Can Let Go can be used in so many connotations. Right. It's a general thing in life. And it's a positive song. It's not meant to be low down and dark.
Right.
It certainly was a recovery song for me. You're dead on. It was a recovery song. It came out of me without really preparing for it. I was enjoying learning acoustic guitar and playing. And it was a release. This was a release. The song appeared very, very quickly. This is one of those that, like These Dreams, popped out very, very fast. It seemed the right song to be at the end of the album as well. And in these early stages, I have played this song to a few people that are close to me, and some of the other songs off the record. And the response to this one has always been very powerful. It seems to have connected and helped a few people, and some who have gone through the same thing. And it's a simple song. And I think when you're trying to get a message across, which is very powerful and poignant to yourself and to other people, right, simplicity and silence is one of the most powerful things.
I need to play a little bit of the end of the song, because it really, to me, shows... let me just play this.
And the child still shines in the light of your eyes, where no pain can dim the flame. Now it's time to break the chains and walk into the healing rain. Oh, sweet soul, you can let go.
What's amazing about this song, Martin, is right then and there is the only time you bring your bass in to kind of fill the background. And to me, that shows one of the best traits of you as a songwriter is you have a tremendous amount of patience.
I can only put this down to, again, what we talked about, that the song starts to tell you what it is, and you can overload it, and which happens. You do your bass all the way through, and then you go, something's not speaking about the real core of a song,
right?
Being the lyric, particularly on a song like this, the simplicity of it. And to me, the bass at the end, particularly on the refrain of the chorus, just sounded to me, and this is going to sound, probably a little too heavy for what I'm trying to communicate, is it just felt to me like there was an unloading of the emotions at that point.
Absolutely.
And the bass opens the door, the cusp of the whole nutshell opens and says, off you go. And the bass did that for me.
That's that's right on the money, because emotionally, that song right then and there, it almost creates this bed for you to emote. Like, if there's going to be a moment in that song where you're going to I can't hold back and I got to cry, it's going to be right there. And it's like the bass is like, okay, go ahead and cry, show us your emotions, and I'm going to hold you, I'm going to support you.
Yeah.
Which really, it's just genius. It's just
sweet of you to say.
Makes it's just phenomenal. That's why I like really listening to your songs, because it's little things like that really not only just give me more of an insight into the songwriting process, but allows me to enjoy music just a little bit better. When you hear songwriters and you hear them do things like that, I mean, that's just, at the end of a song, who provides a mattress for you to land on? You know what I mean? It's just really amazing. Well,
I appreciate that.
Anyhow, that's the album from song one down to the end.
Yeah.
And on this whole album, when you look back, what's the theme of the whole thing?
Well, it's one of the biggest things for me in life is finding a temper of peace. It's as simple as that, a balance. And it's very rare that we get it, but I think everybody knows what it is when it appears, when you feel in harmony with everything. And I wanted to express that. That's my little own journey, my own goal in life, is to reach that place where you have a little bit of harmony. It's brief. You And I was reading again a book that was explaining, the tides of the mind, the way our human brains are always volatile, never the same, everything's changing, and we're trying to find a kind of balance right in the middle, and there are those moments when we go, hey, the kids are healthy, I feel good, everything in life seems to be what it should be.
Right.
And it was expressed as a temper of peace, a temperament of peace that comes across us. And I've been very fortunate to have had moments, although brief, of that. So it seemed like the right title. I mean, it's just as simple as that. It was a title I held for a long time and thought, that's good. But there's no real, shall we say, storyline to the album, although I feel that all the music sticks together well.
You know what? You just explained it. Everybody. This is your temper of peace.
Yeah.
These songs are a collection of things that bring you to the temper of peace.
Yes, it's a very simple idea. Although all the songs stick together rather well, I've always loved records where you play them from the beginning to the end. I've always enjoyed those journeys. I've got favourite records like that. But this is a bunch of short stories. It's, to me, I really do think that albums are books. I see literature and music very close together.
Right.
So this is, a lot of short stories. Each chapter is a little different. The styles are different, but in some strange way, to me, they all hold together in a kind of natural way.
Did you miss working with people on this album?
To tell you the truth, and I'm being real honest about this.
Don't be too honest.
The naked dancers that I usually have in the studio, that was a bind. I did miss them, The mass alcohol and heroin, that was strange not to have that about. I have to be honest. No, it was. I got engulfed in it. I mean, it was a real challenge. I didn't really come up for much air, and. I knew I needed to play guitar here. I knew I needed to do background vocals, and so you're on this kind of little mission, But no, I think now, because I finished this record and it was something I wanted to do. I've always wanted to play everything, engineer it, and produce it. Now I feel like it would be lovely to, open the doors again to other people playing with me. This was just something I really wanted to do, and I sort of took it on board. And once I was in it, it was I saw it actually as a very enjoyable experience. It was quite hard at times, I must admit, and I got desolate a few times because I was like, I'm not sure which direction to take here. And you have to really, and I really appreciate what these people like Stevie Wonder did, and Todd Rundgren did, and Pete Townsend. When that, you really have to become many people in one go, know, and you have to, in a way, let go of a lot of, as the song says, you have to let go. You can let go. It was like, if this isn't the best sounding record, if this isn't the best vocal you've done, if this isn't the best guitar part, that's not what it's about. It's a mission for you to be intimate, emotional, and do the best work you can. And it was one of those things. I mean, I felt like a kid. I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to say that I played everything for better or worse. And it made me mix the record a certain way, made me dive into the old songs that I was going to redo again. It broke a lot of taboos for me. But it was... I didn't miss players. I know I'm talking a lot about that, but I didn't really miss players because I was on a mission.
Right.
I was on a mission.
I will say, when I would see you as you were recording this, you seemed to be a little bit happier than you've been other times. I mean, I remember hey, listen to this, and you'd play a little bit of this, or a little pad thing here, or a little part of song here.
That's very perceptive, because I see the 3 solo albums I've done so far. I see In the House of Stone and Light very vibrant and full of that energy and youth of that time, and that it was the first record I was going to do on my own. And I did have, the help of the musicians that I'd worked with and had inspired me. Bernie Taupin was writing some of the songs.
Right.
Phil Collins was around. Robbie Robertson played guitar. Some of the Blue Nile people. I see the next record as my blue record. We know that Elton's made a blue record. We know that Joni Mitchell has it. It was my, I should say, quite quiet record. This one's in between the two, for me. You know,
Yeah.
I might be wrong, and
No.
I think you see it clearly in other people outside. But this, to me, is the bridge between those two albums. It's right in between.
Yeah.
It has an energy level and a spark to it, which I think I was moving towards, and it's the bridge album between the other two. Yeah.
Let me ask you one more question as a songwriter, and then we're going to go on to the fan questions that we have. What do you think when you hear one of your songs being played?
Very interesting question, because I just went through that. We Built This City, one of the songs that I wrote over 25 years ago and started me going, is in the new Rock of Ages movie.
Right.
And they had a poster up. I was going to see a different movie altogether, and it had We Built This City written on a poster. And I remember thinking, how bizarre. You know, and this is what I'm trying to get across. I think this is such a good question, because I needed to feel like I wrote that and it's got a life of its own, and it's become a kind of flag to the 80s. You know, it's become it's reviled by many people, loved by others,
right.
And although it's become a kind of a trademark of that era.
It's iconic.
Yes, and you know, and it's hard, and I mean this sincerely. I knew that I should feel it and understand it and go, I remember writing that and I know what it is and I take it under my skin, but I actually admitted that I couldn't take it in. You know, you want to feel it and you really want to grasp it and know what it is, but it's a little too distant. It's a little bit too far away. You're incredibly proud that something that you did at that time is a kind of trademark for a certain era. But to be honest with you, I was saying to myself, you should really grasp this. Do you feel this? And I was thinking, no, I'm very turned on by what I'm doing now.
Right.
You know, I was into what I was writing now and what was in the car. So
That's interesting.
You know, you feel it, but you don't really take it in. You know, and I think most artists, if they were really to admit it, they'd say, well, once it's got its life and it's left you, it's on its own journey. You suddenly get surprised and you go, whoa, We Built the City, they're still relating to it in 2012. And you sort of go, I'm part of that. I was involved in that. But the song you're writing now, you're on.
Right.
The next thing is ingrained in you. And I think that's as the human brain does. The brain stays attached to what it's really doing at that time. So I'd be a liar to say, oh yeah, I understand how that felt. I was actually looking at it, and this is intriguing to me even. I remember thinking about it, that I feel alienated from it a little bit. My mind had said that was then. I'm onto something else. You know?
Does it bug you when people thrash that song as much as they do?
And they do thrash it. I'm telling you. I'm just reading a book now, you know, called Celestial Music, and I was enjoying the book, and suddenly he goes into a long rant about this being, you know, it should have been written in hell and everything, and and I remember thinking, looking at it on the billboard and saying, yeah, that's fine, mate, but everybody's going to be watching this movie and singing along to this song, you know. And there's something powerful about any song,
right?
And you know, anything that gets so commercial,
right?
And particularly with a band like Starship,
yeah, well,
they had such a heritage, and they take it out on the song. But really, what these people are doing, they're being too artsy fartsy, and they're pointing fingers at something they think is underground and should be left in some kind of special place. Well, there's nothing wrong with commerciality. There's nothing wrong with making people happy and jump up and down and sing and enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with that. And there becomes that thin line between being, the word I'm trying to think of would be stuck up.
Yeah, they're pretentious.
Pretentious, thank you, Mike. And making these decisions on really what makes a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
I still enjoy listening to Sugar Sugar by the Archies.
Yeah.
I still like hearing Get It On by T-Rex.
Yeah.
Brilliant. You can listen to everything. I've been a chameleon all my life.
Right.
When I was working with Robbie Robertson, Daniel Lanois was very, very confused that I could write We Built the City and These Dreams and then write For an Angel. It's only because I'm an addict for music.
Right.
And anybody who loves something enough, like Picasso or anybody, you know, they do lots of different styles and they're ingrained in the feel. And over the years, I've learned to let go of even me, to be so pretentious about what you do. If it makes people happy and lifts them, there's some incredible magic going on there.
Right.
If it's positive.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people are reacting not to the music, but to the fact that it was, Starship
Yeah.
doing that song about selling out. And
Yeah.
they, at that time where they were just,
Yeah.
that was their commercial album.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody, I don't find too many people who go, oh man, that, the chorus really, the lyric or the melody or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just...
It's a truism, though, that even when I heard the record produced, because my demo was very different and a different kind of spirit,
Right.
and you've heard that, Mike. It's
Yes.
different. And then when I heard the record, even then I thought, oh, it's a little too obvious. I'm not sure I like this, But, you also have to listen to people that come up to you and just go, I grew up to that song and I love it. Because, and it is pretentious because in this book, Celestial Music, all he talks about is getting rid of stuff that doesn't seem hip at that time. Well, I say bollocks to that. It's a good bloody English word to say bollocks. You keep the records that you love for
Right.
certain reasons.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with loving the Archies, loving Peter Gabriel, loving Arvo Part, loving Stravinsky, and then loving something that comes out by... a brand new band today, like we were talking about
Goatee.
I think the people that take the music for just enjoying it or being touched by it, but I take my hat off to that, and I think they're the true temperature to read.
Yeah.
Not the pretentious people that write about things and try to say it's not hip, it's not this, it's not that. Get off your high horse and admit that you like lots of music.
Yeah, because a lot of music that people think is really good is really lame. and no, but it's true. You get a lot of music that's in the moment, and people are giving rave reviews, and they're going to come and they're going to go, and nobody's going to remember them.
Yeah.
Yet, I guarantee you, We Built This City is going to be remembered for a long, long time.
In hell, and it's okay to not like something.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to defend anything.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
written thousands of songs,
Yeah.
and I don't like some of them.
Yeah, I mean,
but you have to also tip your hat to anything that moves a lot of people at a certain time. You might, do you think I'm sexy? It moved people at a certain time.
Not really.
Okay. But, people want to knock things, like an era even. Like
Right.
you look at the 80s and the Human League and they'll say, oh, the 80s, and all this and that. And you have to step back. You have to get a higher vision.
Yeah.
And I actually agree that people have to dislike or like things or don't like things. But at the same time, I think if a lot of people respond to something in a positive way,
Yeah.
is a sign of something.
Absolutely.
And music is music. It's music, lads. Let's not all take this too seriously. It's meant there as a creative force. It's music. Lay back, lighten up, and enjoy it.
Awesome. We had a tremendous response, Martin, from the Ask Martin page, a question that I posted on your Facebook page. And just so you know, I showed Martin a couple of these questions beforehand, and these are the winners.
And we had loads of great questions. It was very tough.
That's right. And we had more than one winner, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our winners are very deserving. And the first one, who is more than deserving, is Rebecca Oakes. And she asked, and I will read it verbatim, what inspired Martin to create his Celtic Man symbol? Does he have a copy of it hanging in his home studio?
Well, the Celtic Man, as you know, has been put on all the albums, and obviously Rebecca has spotted that, and even on the new album, he appears in different places. It's become kind of my trademark. It was designed for me by my friend, Brian Fairweather, known to many as my guitarist through all the years. His wife is a great, great designer, and she drew the Celtic Man for me and found really tremendous images that were... her name was Zena Fairweather, and she does terrific stuff, has her own website. When we were doing House of Stone and Light, I wanted to have this insignia that I could always use, and it really in a way spoke about my music. And I loved Celtic lore and all traditional mythology. And so I sort of put this forward to Zena and let her do a thing. And she came up with this great, great design of this Celtic man And on each of the, as he stands there in a sign of really like a cross, you'll see certain animals above his arms and by his legs, and they all reflect a certain strength that the Celtic man would have, being passion, being emotion, being strength and wisdom. So the Celtic man just stayed with me and became my trademark. And basically, whenever we put an album out, I always like to see that he appears there. And I do have a version, Rebecca, of the Celtic Man in silver that was made for me by my management when we put the first record out. And I have that at home in a special little case that I clean now and then, and it looks very special. That's a great question, because the Celtic Man has become synonymous, really, with my music. So, a great question.
She has a B part to this question, too.
Oh dear. What's the B part? I've forgotten.
And she also says, and on a completely perverse and impertinent note, does he have it tattooed anywhere?
Gracious me, now we are getting very personal, aren't we? I don't have any tattoos. The most I've done to body art is I have two earrings, which I had pierced a long time ago, thinking that I was a pirate. But and I have, though, funny enough, this is a really interesting B part of the question, because only recently I was thinking to myself, if I did have a tattoo, it would be the Celtic Man. And I really I thought about it on my arm, That's where I would put it. I would put it just, very small, so it wasn't obvious, I work with Robbie Williams every now and then, and every part of his body has some kind of tattoo there. I'm not brave enough to do that. But I have thought about the Celtic Man, but I don't think I'm brave enough to do it.
Yeah, just don't put it on your neck.
When you watch, I love soccer, so when you see these soccer players now, their whole arms and their legs just look black. They've just done everything they possibly can to them. But it's actually an interesting question, because I recently thought about it and I came a little bit near to thinking this should be done. And then in a more sane moment, I thought, stupid. Don't do that. So I don't have any tattoos. But if there was to be a tattoo, it would be the Celtic Man.
Okay, our next winner is Kaya Lamboka Pierre. And she has 2 questions, and the first one is, what are your spiritual and religious beliefs?
Well, I was actually, this is very easy, a great question again. It's a very easy question of this. My spiritual beliefs are music. Music's my religion, really. It's a source that lifts me up, keeps me pretty steady. But I was born in England, so I was brought up Church of England, and we were always dragged into the churches there and all assemblies at school, and we we were brought up to believe in the wrath of God more than anything else. It still had a bit of that Victorian Catholic vibe about it. But really, since I came to America, I started to read a great deal about Eastern religions, and Buddhism really resonated with me. I found it very, very helpful, the teachings, and I don't even really class myself as a Buddhist, but I lean much more towards the Buddhist philosophy and vision of life. But I would say that I'm more spiritual overall than anything else. I don't really link myself closely to anything, because I think you've got to find your own way, and music, the art of music and doing it, is a religious thing to me. I get lost in a kind of meditation with that, and that's really where I come from.
The second question she asked is, what do you like to do as a hobby outside of music?
Oh, that's easy. Music. Now, more music. Soccer. I love. When I was a kid, I was going to be a professional soccer player. So from 10 years old to 16, I was an addict for that before music struck me. Mm-hmm. And I signed on to Southampton Schoolboys at the age of 16. I was going to be groomed to be a professional. I stayed there till I was about 18. I actually represented my county, which was Hampshire, and I got as far as English schoolboys, nearly in the full English team at the age of 16. Didn't quite make that. But I play it still, believe it or not, every weekend. And as you can see, Mike, I've got a big scar on my face at this moment.
Okay, I need to inject in here. You do not play soccer. you. It's a journey. It's an experience. I don't even know if it's the privilege, but I had the experience of playing soccer with you one time. And I'll just tell you, people, this man is an animal. I mean, I was playing goalie, and the ball comes flying in, and Martin comes charging at me, and we both go up for the ball at the same time. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
And Martin laid me out. I mean, there was
didn't mean to.
No mercy. I landed on my side. We're around all your friends, and they're all these other Englishmen, and they're all, really good soccer players.
Yeah.
And I remember getting the air knocked out of me, but I couldn't, I wanted to cry.
Well, you did very well, Mike. You did very well that day.
It was so painful, and I'm like, man.
I must admit, I lose myself on the field, and I'm sort of I'm a defender, so I have to control myself a little bit and understand that those days are gone. But that's my other huge hobby. I love watching it on TV. It's my release, and I love to play on the weekends. And my biggest task is to control my competitiveness and enthusiasm, because that overrides the whole thing sometimes. But my hobby outside music is the game of soccer. Football to us, soccer to the Americans.
Well, there you go. And we're going to be sending signed CDs to both of them. And
I want to say thanks to everybody who sent in great questions. It was tough to go through them all and pick two winners. But I really want to thank everybody for taking the time to do that.
Well, hey, Martin, to finish this whole thing, what's next?
Well, I never stop writing, Mike. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's a very easy question. That I'm always writing. I have a lot of new songs on the go.
Right.
I can't imagine not writing. So for me, it's that, I never know really if there's what these songs are going to turn into or where they're going. They have lives of their own, but I'm having a great deal of fun writing, and the studio, which you've helped me develop, is a real source of fun at the moment. Real source of fun, and that's a great word for me to say, fun. I feel like I'm in a really great place at the moment, because I look forward to opening the door and experimenting in the studio. And songs are everything to me, and I'm still doing it, so I'm the luckiest man on earth.
I feel your soul.
Well, the album is A Temper of Peace, and it's going to come out in July. I really encourage everybody who's listening to order it when it comes out or download it off of iTunes. It's a great album.
It's going to be on at CDBaby again as well.
Well, hey, listen, this has been kind of fun.
It's been great fun. It's been really, really, as you say, been a blast. I've totally enjoyed it, and it's been fun to do it with you.
And just want to thank everybody for listening. And Martin, it's been a pleasure. And buy the album when it comes out.
Thanks, Mike.